Welcome to another episode of Founder Unfiltered. My name is Bradley Jacobs. I'm your host, the founder and CEO of Mylance. Today, I'm joined by Asim Khaliq. Asim leads e-commerce brands and professionals to build scalable businesses through strategy, execution, systems, and brand positioning. He has over 27 years of experience, 7 companies built, and over $800 million in revenue generated, bringing proven frameworks to startups and scaling brands. We're going to go deep. Asim, I'm really excited to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Excited for you to be here. So, I want to jump right into some of the things you were sharing with me earlier on before we started recording was the problem is the founder. And I'm on board with this, but tell me what you mean by that.
So, most of the time, the founders are the visionary, and they think that the vision they need to carry through the execution, which is fine at the early stage of their businesses. When they start the business, they are everything from marketing genius to execution, pro. But as the business grow, it's very difficult for founder to detach themselves from those decisions because the culture they build within their company or the startup is everything comes to them and they approve and disapprove. They need to be part of every meeting. This means they're gonna have the final say. But as the company grows, most of the time the founders does not have the skill set to make those decisions, or even if they have the skill set they cannot just become the bottleneck for their own vision. So this means what founders need to do is they need to detach themselves from those decisions, from their emotional attachment to the vision and the business. And it is a very difficult transition from A to B. It's not going to happen, in one day, but they need to get prepared for this thing that one day, their brainchild is going to be big enough that they're going to walk and run, by themselves. Do not intervene too much.
I imagine this is particularly challenging because the super early days of building a company, the founder is going off on their intuition a lot, using data where they can, but it is a little bit like as a founder, you make every single decision early on. And then there becomes a point where that changes as you're talking about. And I'm guessing that's why this transition is so challenging.
Yeah, and then the other misconception come from probably more books and academics that delegation is the way to go. And my opinion, that becomes another bottleneck. What happened, they start hiring different people, and other people start executing their tasks, their responsibilities. But in between those transition as well, what they do not create is the decision design system. Meaning, although people are working on their task, but then they're coming to the founder again to make the decision. And over the period of time, repeatedly, this becomes a company's culture. The founders become so insecure that maybe X or Y is going to make a wrong decision. I need to make that decision. And what happened, this decision, abundance of decision at the founder desk is not only the bottleneck, it becomes the biggest obstacle for their growth. And most of the time, the failure becomes, very significant. So what I said to them is, delegation is good, but let the people make the decisions as well. They're gonna make some, wrong decisions. That's fine. You need to have some tolerance for the failure, but then they're gonna learn, what is wrong and what is right, and then this is how you're gonna execute, your vision more professionally.
So let me ask you, right? If every founder starts their company because they have either problem they want to solve, a customer they care about, some combination, and then as they go along, it's possible that the solution that you build actually might be best for a slightly different customer, or the solution looks different than you wanted it to. So, excuse me, like what do you recommend in that situation?
That is one of the attribute you need to have as a founder, that you shouldn't be driven by your intuition and the emotional attachment to the problem. So let the problem flow through the customer's mind and utility, whatever you're solving, and customers are going to shape it. So you need to have a continuous feedback loop where you are getting most of the feedback, instead of you're pushing your problem and the solution to the customer, that this is the right solution. No, the customer gonna come to you and they're gonna say, actually this is not, you know this is the right solution, because I am the one you should be focusing on instead of you. you know so it's a continuous validation process through the feedback loop. The moment you're going to disconnect this feedback, you're going to push people and you're going to become obsolete at one point.
I mean, it's such an interesting question, right? Because you're going to be working on your business for many, many, many years, right? These aren't quick things, right? Minimum 5, 7, 10 years, probably, assuming you have success, over time. And you do want to be passionate about what you're working on. Like, how do you think about that? How do you think about that?
You need to have the humility to accept that you don't know everything. So you know the best people who are the best learner, you need to have that acceptance that I don't know everything and someone else has the knowledge, and I need to have those receptors to receive all this information and make a strategic decision. And that's all. And this is very emotional, because the more you learn, you think you know more. In my opinion, the more you learn actually gives you the humility that you don't know much. So that is the thing. If you're a founder, you're a leader. You need to act like a leader. That I don't know everything, and let's get the point is I need to be more listening than talking.
So, what I'm hearing you say is listening as a founder and being unattached to what I think the right answer is an incredibly important skill. What else are the top, from what you've seen in all the businesses you've started and every founder you've worked with? What are the other top 3, 4 skills that are going to be the most important for a successful business?
So first of all, you need to build a culture. But as I said before, you need to have a failure tolerance culture for yourself and for your team as well. Number one. Number two, you need to always have this attribute that where you are taking all the blames for the failures and giving all the credits to the people. And this is how people get motivated about their responsibilities. And one of the most important thing is, as I said, you need to have the humility to listen to other people. The moment you're going to listen to other people, everyone is going to have an ownership stake in your vision. And people are going to say, I'm also thinking this is my business and I need to execute. Because the culture is always, you need to build a culture which is the reflection of your brand. You cannot do other way around. You cannot just build a brand because you think you're a genius and you know how to do branding. No, the culture is going to reflect on the market. So these are kind of things you need to do. There are many other things you need to do as a leader, but these are the things. The culture is the first thing you need to have. Uh, you know, taking blames and stuff. One more thing I would add. Never you need to build resilience as well. And like you're gonna see so many failures. You're gonna see execution failures, strategy failures, team failures. And if you get, too much emotional about those things, everything is going to collapse in the company. Because as a founder, you need to understand the problem you're gonna solve is the only problem which you can solve and no one else can solve in the company. That's why they are talking to you. And people do not understand that this part. So let's suppose when I was running the company, they're not going to talk about, if we have two returns extra this day. They're going to talk to me if one of our corporate client is signing off. and they are really pissed off, and I need to manage those clients. The most difficult course, problems I need to solve, and I need to be very prepared about these things. And I'm gonna say, don't worry about it. I'm gonna take care of it. Although I don't know how to take care of it literally, because but I cannot just make the perception, what? We cannot solve this problem. The moment I'm gonna say that thing, the people are gonna say, how come he's a leader?
One of the things I heard you say is we get to tolerate failure, right? And that's not just within our own failures; it's also within the team and other people trying things that don't work and having that be a quote unquote failure, right? I feel like that's easy to say, and then in practice, that is so incredibly challenging. I mean, we are just taught that like quote unquote failure is a bad thing.
It depends, how you define failure. So let's suppose if you define failure, which is very costly, and you invest every penny in from your account into a strategy, and then you test it and you say, oh, we are failed. No, for the failure there is three principles, which is fail often, fail cheap, and
Does it fail fast? Is that the
fail
other one?
fast. Yeah, the third one. So let's suppose if I have a bigger strategy and I want to run this campaign, I just gonna run the campaign $500 on Meta to validate, invalidate my hypothesis or my creatives or my message. So the maximum failure is $500 instead of $50,000 campaign for BFCM, and that is the failure. There is a difference between a blunder and a failure. So you don't need to having a 50,000 failure, depending on the company size. But I don't mind, if I'm spending a couple of $100 to validate my hypothesis, my creative, my campaign, my messaging, and optimizing those things. These are failures, you know. So you need to have a process where I'm gonna fail 3 times in a day or 2 times in a day instead of one time in a month. So that's the mindset, of the failure. It's not like you're failing the whole company.
And maybe that the reframe there, right, is it's not a failure at all, right? If you test $500 and you find ads that don't work, right, it's a learning, it's an experience, it's a, iteration, and you take that forward and there's not even the word failure associated with it.
Yeah. So yeah, those kind of validation, invalidation, and iteration and feedback. Actually they use these kind of words as well. But at the end, people think emotionally that they fail, right? So you need to have this thing that's okay. If we're gonna fail in this hypothesis in this test, that's okay. We're gonna learn something. We're gonna execute. It is always a process, and I would love to fail very early in the process to have more hypothesis instead of that I'm not failing. That failure build resilience as well. you know
Yeah. One of the things you said that stuck out to me was I get to take, credit for all the losses pretty much and all the failures, but none of the credit for the things that are working. And that will help my team feel like an owner of the business, which is so important. Why does it work that way?
because the thing is, you need to understand, you're not running a competition. It's not like you are getting all the trophies for yourself and you're pumping yourself every day that I'm the genius here. I see, this was my decision and it worked. No. So you're running a company, and that's okay. You're gonna give credit to other people, and if some things fail, you're gonna say, probably I overlook that thing, and that's okay. We're gonna move forward with this thing, and this is how people gonna see that actually I'm owning those things as well, and my efforts are appreciated here. That's the biggest thing in any team. It's not about winning and losing. It's a process, and the effort when people are gonna make, and eventually you're gonna succeed. Because think about a game theory as well. Like, if you are just winning all the time, what's gonna happen? you know you're gonna lose big time one time, and you're not gonna have the resilience and the emotional detachment on those things, and you're gonna fail. Like, psychologically, you're never gonna come back again. So I think this is the interaction you're going to have. It does not mean that we are promoting that you need to make bad decisions. We are not promoting this thing. What we are doing is creating a process where we are evaluating our judgment, our hypothesis, our processes all the time to fine tune and optimize it.
You mentioned resilience, and it's such a I love the word in so many ways because of how important it is as a founder and just building the resilience when things are challenging, people leave, customers give bad feedback, whatever it is, right? It's resilience, it's so important. How do you build resilience when you're starting out or just haven't faced the adversity yet?
I'll give you my personal pattern. So each time, and this is actually resilience, like the failure or those blunders were, in my journey was the best thing happened to me. I have this characteristics where if something gonna happen, and let's suppose you lost client, your server is down for a few hours and you lost so much money, your campaign is failed. So I'm a human. I'm not expecting myself that I'm not gonna get, emotional outburst. You know, not in the team, but I'm gonna probably go away from the computer screen and having, some emotional thing. But after probably 15 to 20 minutes, half an hour max, I'm gonna come back. I gotta say, you know what? If we fail X, we need to gain X plus Y. We're gonna do it again. And this is something build a better business always for myself. So one time, we have lost, whole campaign. I said, it doesn't matter. So I stopped the screen. I just, went outside, walked for 10, 15 minutes, came back, and I said, you know what? I need to see, why we failed, and let's build, something. And actually, that was the thing that I was building several business within the business, because each time, those was the trigger. Like all those blunders were the trigger to analyze more deeply and execute more professionally to build something else. But this is what you need to do as a founder. You cannot just say, oh no, I'm not gonna have emotion. You're gonna have emotions. If you want to cry, you can cry as well. Doesn't matter. But 30 minutes max.
Wow. Well, I love that. You're working with tons of different companies right now, and I'd love to hear, I feel like the landscape is changing rapidly, especially obviously with AI, but the market as a whole. And I'm curious, what are you seeing work? What are you seeing not work? Like what's changing in the marketplace? Like what's top of mind as you work with all these different companies?
I think there is too much noise right now, because AI is also changing so much. Like you're gonna work on a platform, and then that platform is launching another feature in next 2 months, and then many other solutions are coming. So I think there is too much noise. I think you need to take a strategic look on AI, like how you can build your company on AI instead of focusing on AI as a technology. If you're running an e-commerce business, you are in the different business. You need to use AI to make your business more effective, productive, efficient. This is all it is. It's like a Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola is not in the refrigeration business. GE built the refrigerator, and Coca-Cola utilize it. And this is what you need to think about it, how you can utilize, AI to build a different workflows, different automations, how to hire right people, how to hire, good consultant, tools, platforms, and how you can define a next level or next generation of your company or whatever, next iteration of everything. But eventually it's gonna change. And in my opinion, I'm talking too much, but in my opinion, this is the best time for e-commerce businesses to start and grow. I stopped my own e-commerce business in 2017. Now I'm thinking again to start another e-commerce business. This is the best time because I can automate them everything, and without hiring 50, 100 people. I can do maybe 7, 8, 10 people, and I can build the same business.
If we make it practical, I mean, what are the biggest automations or impacts specifically for AI that you've seen that are real game changers that didn't exist 3, 4, 5 years ago?
Yeah, so data is one. because AI can read your reports and give you more in-depth analysis instead of someone is presenting to you, we are doing great. It doesn't work that way. You can create complex sets of now data analytics report as well, because AI can give you more strategic view on customer life cycle. This is the first thing. So once you have right data, then you need to think about the execution within every team, like marketing team, performance marketing team, operations, customer service, project management, product itself. And this is where you're gonna start. And you don't need to start too big. You just need to start few automation, and that's all. And start learning and start stacking things up and up and up. In 6 months, 8 months, you are going to be an AI driven company. People need training as well, so give them resources and training and some space within the time that if they are working 8 hours, let them work 5 hours, learn something, give them something to learn, some budget you need to have for the failures as well. As I said, you cannot just say, "I'm buying this tool," and make sure you are using this tool. Maybe this tool is not good. You're gonna say after 1 month, "No, it's not working. We need to find something else." So you need to have these kind of things as well.
There's a new AI tool every 5 minutes right now, right? And there does this and it does that, and it's better than this, and it's faster, and it works in the cloud, whatever. I mean, there's you name it. How do you think about using AI to truly drive my business forward, automate things, save me time, help grow revenue, and try out all these different tools because it feels like a full-time job to even keep up with what's going on?
Actually, you need to. You just need to define, what my operations, obstacles are, and where I can utilize AI. So you need to take one thing at a time. You cannot, because the people in the business, on the platform side, on the AI side, and the people who are running this business, they need to handshake at one point. And realistically, you cannot just apply 100 tools tomorrow. You just need to take a couple of tools. Like I'm very much into automation, but I have like 3 4 subscription only. I'm not crazy, paying for the subscription, because I can, if I cannot utilize the tool, what's the point of having 20 tools? Like
Right.
going to AppSumo and buying, every damn AI tool for cheap, for lifetime access. No, why?
What are those top tools that you're using right now, the top AI ones?
I'm too much into Claude. Before I was using ChatGPT, but I use both to validate and invalidate both. So think about, I have two strategic head. So someone said this is a great idea. I said, okay, what do you think about this great idea? I said, no, these are some flaws. And I said, okay, this is the feedback I got from another strategic head. So they are fighting. So I said, okay, let them fight. This is one thing I have fun with AI. I'm using those tools. I'm using some tools for creatives as well, but with caution, because AI creatives people can pick very quickly. Recommend people that you need to have the creative directions and creative brand design or something, and then use the AI instead of asking AI to use all these fake hypothetical fantasy images, and people gonna start hating those images. Then I'm using some product management small stuff as well, some voiceover, these kind of things for the clients, but mostly these are the things that I'm using.
How do you think about creating businesses that are sustainable proof, or they're not going to be wiped off the face of the planet by AI, Claude, OpenAI, Google? I mean, these companies are building so fast and they're building so much. How do you create a business that is going to stand the test of time given how fast things are innovating?
I'm gonna have my own bias because I'm in e-commerce, mostly D2C and B2C. They're not gonna fail. Any consumer product not gonna fail. So instead of thinking about AI, think about human. Humans are the consumer. So if humans are consuming your product, we don't need to worry about AI. They're gonna use your product anyways. But yes, for many tools and many solutions, many platforms what humans are using, probably they're going to abandon. It's always horses versus car. And that's how it is. If you're selling horses, think about, that use the technology to sell cars. The idea is same. You're commuting from, A to B. So before we were using, 100 years ago, we were using horses. We started using cars, and then how we start, you know, all this automation and technology and everything. But at the end, you are the business of devices. you know, you're gonna be fine. So you need to always think about the vision instead of your execution thing. What you're offering.
Yeah.
Or music is a very good example from vinyl to cassette to CD to downloadables to Spotify. Music, if you are in music industry, you're fine. But if you're in vinyl industry, no, you're in museum now.
Right, right. Last topic I want to hit on before we wrap up is we talked about passion and being a driving force in as an entrepreneur. I know you have lots of thoughts on this, so really just want to start by opening the floor. And what are your thoughts on passion in as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, you need to have a passion to start with. But remember, all the businesses are very boring, and it has to be boring. If you're in the excitement mode all the time, you're not going to work on the task you have. So, for example, if you see, if let's suppose if you love food and you're opening a restaurant business, yes, you have passion about food and all the people and serving, but the whole process of running a restaurant business is very damn boring. From buying, stuff and cooking and serving and getting bad feedback, and even you're saying thank you, sir. It's a very boring process. So passion could be a driving force if you be very realistic about that. Starting a business could be a very boring endeavor. And most of the time, the boring businesses are the great businesses because people do not think about those businesses. Everyone thinks about fashion, everyone thinks about travel and these kind of business. But think about, if someone is making ceiling fan, you know, what is the passion about making ceiling fan? All the motors and these kind of things, but they are making good money. So you need to have a balance between you need to passionate about what you deliver, but the process of having business is boring, and you need to accept the reality that I'm gonna get bored. I need to have this mindset that I'm gonna have long hours, I'm gonna have bad days and good days. But at the end, if my customers are saying, Brett, you are a great guy, that's all matter. you know that's the passion part.
How do I get comfortable as an entrepreneur with, yeah, it's going to be boring to run my business?
This is what it is. So start a business and you're gonna see how quickly you're aging. uh, you know so it's boring. So that's the thing, but you need to enjoy everyday working. If you are enjoying everyday working, that's all matters. And but it is going to be boring. Hiring process is a very boring process. People management is a very boring process. Getting bad feedback is a very boring process. All these things, if your best employees are leaving you, or maybe you need to try to negotiate and people are not understanding your point of view, it's not easy, but these are the realities you know
Asim, thank you so much for your time and expertise. If people want to find you, work with you, maybe even an opportunity to share what you're working on a little bit more, the floor is yours.
So my website, I have agency website, which is ecom expedition, and my personal website is asimkhaliq.com, my first and last name.com. And yeah, I'm right now I'm working more on the system instead of band-aid fixing, on the business side. So I'm trying to build a system where either people can implement themselves, or I can have very minimum consulting hours with them. Because at this point, I think I need to have more impact. So that's why I'm building system. You know, that's all.
Awesome. All right. We'll include those links in the show notes as well so people can find them really easily. Asim, thanks so much for your time, energy, expertise, really interesting conversation. And yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you.